The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
Coming up next, we'll talk about Native American regalia. Learn more, stay with us. You're watching Diversity Connections. Welcome to this episode of Diversity Connections. I'm Bukata Hayes. Thank you for joining us. I'm pleased to introduce Nakoma Volkman, Lita and Laura Luke. And they are here to share with us an understanding of Native American culture and regalia. Thank you for joining us. If you could just, Nakoma, give a kind of a brief introduction of who you are.
Okay, I do have a native first name, Nakoma, N-A-K-O-M-A, and Volkman is very German American. That was on my real father's side of the family. But I am Ojibwa and Cree in native heritage. Grew up most of my life with a family from the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, the Ladue Red Cloud family. So that's my cultural background, Oglala Lakota Dakota. And I'm a traditional dancer. I have been since I was a kid. Traditional singer, a speaker, a writer, and an artist primarily. My wife and I travel full-time on the powwow circuit, set up every weekend as a vendor at a powwow almost every weekend of the year.
Beautiful. And Lita and Laura Luke, could you explain or introduce yourself and then talk a little bit about, and actually I'll ask you to talk right away about the regalia you have on.
Okay, my name is Lita Luke and I'm Dakota. And I'm originally from Spirit Lake, North Dakota, and we moved here in 2000, and I wanted to go back to college. And this is my daughter, Laura, and she's 12, and she's a fancy shawl dancer. And I don't know what else to...
You know, and we're talking about regalia, and I think our viewers can see that you are dressed in Native American regalia. So I'll start with you, Nakoma. If you could describe for our viewers what you're wearing and also some of the significance and importance to what you're wearing.
I only have about half of it on. I normally would have a bustle on my back. I'm a traditional dancer, very old style traditional dancer. So some of the things that I wear reflect that respect for the old ways. There's different styles of traditional dancers. There's many different categories of dancers at powwows. But I've always emulated the old style traditional way of men dancing. I didn't bring my bustle or my headgear with me. I can maybe stand up a little bit if that's okay.
Yeah,
describe
absolutely.
it better. This is called a harness. And, you know, most of the traditional dancers don't wear a harness when they dance today. But I grew up with the traditional dancers wearing a harness, so I still wear a harness. That's the way I grew up. I have my beaded belt here. Some of these things I got in trading with other arts and crafts people, with artists. Some of it I made myself. Some of it I inherited. This harness I beaded myself, and in our Lakota tradition, this symbol here is of community. That means community. And that's so important to our people.
Absolutely.
The community actually comes first before the individual. And then this medallion here was painted by another Ojibwa friend of mine, Alan White, in a very native way. This breastplate that I'm wearing actually comes from the Crow tribe. Now, the Crow were enemies of the Lakota, so how come I'm wearing that? Well, Frank knows his gun from the Crow tribe, Crow Agency in Montana. Grew up as a brother in our family. like me, he was adopted into the family.
Uh-huh.
And so I made that back in those days in honor of Frank being a brother in the family.
Absolutely.
So I've worn it all for probably 60 years or so.
Mm.
These beads around my eyes are simply a way of decorating the face.
Mm-hmm.
It's the old style. You see it in the woodland tribes,
Mm-hmm.
and you see it in the plains tribes.
Mm-hmm.
My colors are basically orange and black.
Okay.
I have many other colors as well, but orange and black, to me, symbolically, is the same as the yin-yang of the Orient.
Uh-huh.
You've got not just the night and the day, but you've got happy times and sad times in life.
Mm-hmm.
You have bad things happen and good things happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's just reality.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And things do go wrong, or they go a different way than you planned. That's just reality. And so my colors of black and orange reflect the daylight and the nighttime, the happy times and the sad times. It's reality, what you're looking at.
Thank you.
That's life.
Thank you.
My moccasins that you see right here were beaded by the Cheyenne tribe, Cheyenne people. The Cheyenne were allies of our Lakota people.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cheyenne actually originated here in Minnesota along the Mississippi River, up in Lake Pepin area and along Red Wing, if you go back far enough, and then they migrated out to the plains. Hanging down below there is my apron or breechcloth, and this was beaded by my family over 150 years ago. You can see it's kind of coming apart a little bit. This red cloth behind it that it's sewn onto goes back to the Voyager, the fur trapping days of the 1820s and 1830s. That's the original trade cloth. And this is a woodland pattern because this comes from the Ojibwa, the Chippewa side of my family. My grandfather was born in 1870, and he had inherited this. That's how old it is.
Wow.
And then he passed it on to me in the late 1950s.
All right.
Okay, so that's you got a question?
No, I was going to say thank you. I was going to move to Laura and Lita.
And this real quick is usually our men dancers use bells on their legs.
Okay.
I use the old style of deer toes, the deer hooks, to keep time with the rhythm of the drum. This is my fan that I carry. It's Canadian geese feathers, my drumstick, and my medicine wheel that I carry when I dance.
Thank you. Fascinating. So, Lita, could you talk a little bit about what both you and Laura are doing?
Sure. Laura's a fancy shawl dancer, and because we're Dakota, I use a lot of geometric patterns, and so this style is pretty much the same throughout the entire outfit. When you open the shawl, the dance of this is kind of to mimic a butterfly. Wow. So it's like these are the when you're dancing, it kind of moves like a wings.
Yes.
And so that is the shawl, and this is the cape, and I use a lot of mirrors in my work, and so
I noticed there's mirrors on her earrings and also on her
hair ties. Yes. And the reason that I use those is because a lot of times in the dance arena, sometimes men will chicken dancers will have a mirror bag, and they'll dance and look at themselves and dance more and then look at themselves, and what they're really doing is mocking vanity and making fun of people that all they care about is what is on the outside. And so it's symbolic because it's kind of shows that you should really be worried about what's on the inside and not on the outside.
And I was going to ask, too, I noticed that you have two pieces out here, but I wanted the viewers to be able to see what was on Laura's back, because that's some fantastic beadwork that you incorporated,
this is
too.
a cape that I made. I like to sew beads, and this is symbolic because it's got a pipe and it has 7 feathers, and 7 is a really significant number in the Native culture. And it has a sun rising because we need the sun for everything to grow.
Absolutely.
And the sun is actually color of corn beads, which is kind of represents our food. We need that to survive, and so it's kind of paying respect to everything that we need.
Absolutely.
And maybe you could talk about the significance of the number 7.
Well, 7, you'll see it a lot, as Lita has said, in our cultures for many of the tribes, but especially speaking from our background of the Dakota people and Lakota people. There's 7 fires of the tribe, and that, like her people and people I come from, represent one of those 7 groups, gatherings, and yeah, the 7 is just so important. 4 is also an important number in our tribe, with the 4 directions and so on. I don't know what else to say. The Mdewakanton people here in Minnesota would be one of those 7 groupings, just for example.
And Lita, I was going to ask you, I know that you have on a Native American...
Yes, this is a jingle dress,
jingle
or
dress,
medicine dress, as it can be called either. And there is 365 jingles on this dress.
Really?
And it kind of represents one for every day of the year. And they're really, it comes from an Ojibwe legend. And there's a story behind this dress.
And what is the story?
The story is a man that had some daughters. He had a daughter that was very ill, and they thought she was going to die, and she was so sick, and he really prayed that something would help, cure her. And he had a dream, and in his dream he envisioned a dress like this. And the next day he told his wife, and they worked together, and they made 4 of these dresses for their other daughters to dance around the sick daughter, and she got well. And so from then on, they were kind of called medicine dresses or jingle dresses, and it's really an important dress. It represents a lot, and so at any powwow you go to,
you'll see it.
You'll see jingle dresses.
Okay. Also notice that you have feathers, one, and then also I noticed that Laura has feathers too. Could you talk a little bit?
Sure. Mine's an eagle feather. I've had it for a really long time. You kind of earn those as for important deeds, and you take really good care of them. If you are ever at a powwow and it should drop on the ground or should fall to the ground, there's a special ceremony that has to be held in order to pick it up. I could never just go pick it up.
Right.
And so it's really a good thing to take really good care of it, and I think that that's really, if you go to a lot of powwows, you'll see it, eagle feathers, and natives, it's okay if natives have them. Hers is a macaw feather, and there's 3 of them on there, and I just like the colors of it. They're really bright, and that's the same as my fan.
Okay.
And you'll see these at powwows too, because he has a fan, and it really gets hot, especially with this dress on.
Absolutely. And Laura, you've been a fancy dancer. How long have you been dancing?
Since I was 2.
Since you were 2. Now, do you enjoy dancing, and have you traveled all over Minnesota doing that?
Yeah.
You enjoy dancing? Okay. And then how far have you traveled? Have you been up north, and we live in down south, but have you been pretty much throughout the state dancing at powwows?
Yeah, we go to other states sometimes.
Other states too? What other states have you been to?
North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Kansas.
I don't know if many 12-year-olds have done as much traveling as you have. That's very, very cool. So I was going to ask, too, now you talked that you do see each other a lot at powwows, and you would see a lot of the regalia at powwows. You said something pretty interesting about when you meet.
Yes, sometimes like we go to different powwows and I see people that I know and I haven't seen them for a while, but it's like we just saw each other yesterday. We just pick up wherever we left off, and it's kind of a native culture thing that I see. If I see Nakoma somewhere, it's like, hi, I feel happy. I see another native. I know I'm not alone, and
absolutely.
It's really good to be able to do that with people.
Now I see that you have 2 other. And what is a particular name for
These pieces are
Yes.
beaded capes.
Beaded capes,
and you wear
okay.
them like under the fancy shawl.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll see a jingle with them too.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just designed. I designed them and I beaded them, and they kind of, there's a whole outfit that goes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a turquoise and orange outfit that goes with that. And in my tribe, I use a lot of geometric designs.
Okay.
And so a lot of them are just as long as they're the same. And I
Right.
use mirrors in a lot of my work.
Right, absolutely.
And this is the turtle one, and this belongs to my other daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and there's also a little turtle on the front.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of I like to use the whole outfit is the same.
Right, absolutely. And you said the turtle, there is some significance with the turtle being on that particular beaded
Yeah,
piece.
it's the animal that she connected with when she was born, and it's really important because I grew up believing that, you know, the turtle, they represent long life and
Right.
healthy life, and
Right.
even after they die, their heart was still beating, and this child in particular is really full of energy and full of life, and I think that it really represents her.
Good, good. Now, I do notice that, I should say, we talked earlier, I do see some kind of leg coverings.
Yes.
And for women, there's a particular style of regalia, and then for men as well. So I'll ask you, Lita, about the women's, and then I'll come to Nakoma, I'll ask you about the men's.
Well, the women are pretty modest. I think that when you're in the dance arena, you're representing your family, your tribe, and it's really important that you keep your legs covered. It's respectful, and you're in the circle, and that's considered a sacred place. And I think it's really important that we respect the tradition and the culture.
Absolutely.
And so I make leg coverings for any of my children that dance, and I think that it's important that they understand that.
Absolutely. And Nakoma?
Well, there's many different categories of dancers. Being a traditional dancer, I would wear, got fringe made out of deer buckskin. I also have anklets made out of Angora goat hair. And then I have my bells, and then my moccasins. And that's typically what traditional dancers wear, is those anklets. Some wear bells. Most of them do. Some of us old timers use the shells or the hoofs of the deer. There's different ways of keeping rhythm with that drum, the heartbeat as it's beating. But there's another style called grass dancing among the men. Besides traditional and fancy, there's the grass dancers, and they have all ribbons and yarns on their outfit. In the old days, they were the first ones on the dance area, and they would get out there wearing grass outfits, real grass, and they would stomp down the grass to get it ready for the other dancers, and they became known as the grass dancers. Nowadays, their outfits are all ribbons, usually of yarn, different colors. And that's the three categories. The women also have traditional style dancers, either buckskin or cloth, different styles. And there's other styles as well, including the straight dance for the Southerners, but that's basically it.
Also at the, I believe it was Lita, you mentioned that the powers there, and you would know too, Nakoma, there's a certain sequence in which you would come into the powwow. Could you talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, that's called a grand entry, and it's always led off by the flag bearers. And the first one going out would probably be, if there is, maybe a tribe or a family staff of eagle feathers. And that's very respected, and that probably leads it off. Next in line are the other flags, especially the American flag. And you might even have the Canadian flag out there. You've got different military outfit flags, including one for the prisoners of war missing in action, the POWMIA flag there.
Yes.
And they lead the procession, and then you usually have your head dancers, a male and a female, and you've got royalty, like if Laura was a princess, representing a particular tribal committee or powwow. She would be out there along with other royalty. Any chiefs, of course, would be out front. Then you got your different categories from the older men, traditional dancers, all the men, the ladies, right down to the tiny tots. And I've seen a grand entry take an hour and a half to finish before everybody was into the circle. You know, we had a big major powwow.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually wanted to take a turn and go back to your particular bead pieces. How long does it take to make, and is there any significance in the particular beads you've chosen? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I made this piece and the piece that she's wearing during one summer, and this one took me, I'd say, a couple of months, depending upon how much time I have. I like to do work in the car, and so it can take a long time, or I can finish it rather quickly.
Now, is this a skill that you were that was kind of handed down to you, or is it something that you kind of picked up on your own?
Actually, I picked it up on my own. I liked the way that beads look, and I always thought I wanted to make things, and I just kind of taught myself.
Wow. So, and I'll ask you, Nicole, I know that you have some pieces that have been passed down from generation to generation. Are there other pieces that you have or of significance that we don't see today, but that also have been passed down? And also, I'd love to know a little bit more about the medicine wheel, too.
Well, of course, my breechcloth, apron, whatever you want to call it, is very extremely old, made by my family on a loom, and that's the geometric. It's kind of unusual to see a woodland Ojibwa design done in geometrics, but it represents the flowers. You can see all the different flowers done in there in a geometric way, but it's very old. That's just one style of a traditional dancer wearing. The medicine wheel.
Yes.
The medicine wheel, to our Native American cultures, in almost every tribe, the circle is symbolic, again, of reality. The entire universe. You can call it the sacred circle. Some of the tribes refer to it as a medicine wheel. Not all tribes would, but they all respect the circle. And when we hold a powwow, typically, sometimes the singers and the drums are out in the center. The dancers dance repetitiously clockwise around the drum. The audience sits in a circle. The vendors are in a circle. And that's symbolic of the sacred medicine wheel of the circle. Each one of these pieces of rawhide here represents something that the Creator gave us as a gift in life. Here's all the human beings, the mammals, the fishes, the birds, the reptiles, the insects. Here's the sun and the moon and the earth itself, the galaxies. Here's the mountains, the rivers. Everything is here. Nothing is left out. And at one time, this was whole. It was unbroken. But as time goes on, things like the buffalo almost perished, almost disappeared. Had millions and millions of bison were in the herds, but they almost went extinct. Other creatures have become extinct. And when we dance and sing in our circles, we're remembering all those things that have gone extinct. Even family who has passed on. In our hearts, as we're dancing that circle, we're remembering all those things from the past. In our hearts, we are trying to mend that circle, put it all back together as God intended it to be. Symbolically, at the center of the universe is the dwelling place of Wakantanka, of Tankashila, the great spirit of God. And all creation, just like you throw a pebble into the water and it ripples into circles, so does all creation ripple out from that center, which is God, to fill the universe with beautiful diversity of life. And that's what we respect. The medicine wheel is symbolic of our whole spirituality, our whole philosophy of life. And there's a lot more to it than that. you got the bad road and the good road, and trying to stay on that good red road in life and follow the good values and principles of the people, the good teachings. And that's what we try to carry on traditionally at our powwows. There's some serious sides to it, but there's a lot of family fun as well. We have rituals and ceremonies, as Lita mentioned. If a eagle feather is dropped, there's a special respect and a ceremony that before that's picked up. That's just one example. But there's also a lot of fun. We love to tell jokes. We pull each other's leg. We laugh about something we did stupidly. We just love to do that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I did want to ask you, 'cause I know some of our viewers will probably ask, where can you find some authentic Native American regalia, much like you have on today? Would it be the powwows? What are some of the venues that viewers would be able to see? But if also, too, if they wanted to buy, where are some of the places that they could buy some of that quickly?
Well, powwows are a good place to go. They sell a lot of earrings and barrettes and a lot of beaded things, moccasins. And if you go to a bigger powwow, they'll have even more stands because a lot of people buy things at those kind of places.
Thank you.
The general public is really welcome at all the powwows.
Great point. Great point.
They're called intertribals because different tribes come to it. And the public is encouraged to come, to enjoy it, to learn things, and even participate. When the master of ceremonies calls for an intertribal, you don't even have to be dressed in regalia. You don't have to have any native heritage. You can get out there and join in the circle dancing. So it's very open to the public. And the vendors she mentioned, arts and crafts all over the place. And you also have your food vendors.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of you. Nakoma, Laura, Lita, thank you for being on the show today. Diversity means many things to different people. If you want to learn more, log on to ksmq.org, then select Diversity Connections. While you are there, you can see highlights from your favorite episodes, read the blogs, and submit your own experiences and ideas. Join us next time as we take a look at historical perspectives of the Upper Midwest. And remember, you don't have to be afraid of the people's stories that you hear on this show. From everyone at Diversity Connections, let's make the community we dream about.